Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing, where today we are going to be continuing to read The Sleeper Awakes by H.G. Wells. So, let's get going. If we can get to it, that is. Right. Graham looked at her in surprise, at her face lit with emotion. She seemed at first to have spoken with an effort and to have fired herself by speaking. "Do you think," she said, "that you who have lived that little life so far away in the past, you who have fallen into and risen out of this miracle of sleep, do you think that the wonder and reverence and hope of half the world has gathered about you only that you may live another little life? That you may shift the responsibility to any other man? I know how great this kingship of mine is," he said haltingly. "I know how great it seems, but is it real? It is incredible, dreamlike. Is it real, or is it only a great delusion?" "It is real," she said, "if you dare. After all, like all kingship, my kingship is belief. It is an illusion in the minds of men. If you dare," she said. "But countless men," she said, "and while it is in their minds, they will obey. But I know nothing. That is what I had in mind. I know nothing. And these others, the counsellors Ostrog, they are wiser, cooler, they know so much, every detail. And indeed, what are these miseries of which you speak? What am I to know? Do you mean—" He stopped blankly. "I am still hardly more than a girl," she said, "but to me the world seems full of wretchedness. The world has altered since your day, altered very strangely. I have prayed that I might see you and tell you these things. The world has changed, as if a canker had seized it, and robbed life of everything worth having." She turned a flushed face upon him, moving suddenly. "Your days were the days of freedom." "Yes, I have thought. I have been made to think, for my life has not been happy. Men are no longer free. No greater, no better than the men of your time. That is not all. This city is a prison. Every city is now a prison. Mammon grips the key in his hand. Myriads, countless myriads toil from the cradle to the grave. Is that right? Is that to be forever? Yes, far worse than in your time. All about us, beneath us, sorrow and pain. All the shallow delight of such life as you find about you is separated by just a little from a life of wretchedness beyond any telling. Yes, the poor know it. They know they suffer. These countless multitudes who faced death for you 2 nights since, you owe your life to them." "Yes," said Graham slowly. "Yes, I owe my life to them." "You come," she said, "from the days when this new tyranny of the cities was scarcely beginning. It is a tyranny. A tyranny. In your days the feudal warlords had gone, and the new lordship of wealth had still to come. Half the men in the world still lived out upon the free countryside. The cities had still to devour them. I have heard the stories out of the old books. There was nobility. Common men led lives of love and faithfulness then. They did 1,000 things. And you come from that time. It was not... But never mind. How is it now? Gain and the pleasure cities, or slavery, unthanked, unhonoured slavery." "Slavery," he said. "Slavery. You don't mean to say that human beings are chattels? Worse. That is what I want you to know, what I want you to see. I know you do not know. They will keep things from you. They will take you presently to a pleasure city. But you have noticed men and women and children in pale blue canvas, with thin yellow faces and dull eyes. Everywhere, speaking a horrible dialect, coarse and weak. I have heard it. They are the slaves, your slaves. They are the slaves of the Labour Department you own. The Labour Department? In some way, that is familiar. Ah, now I remember. I saw it when I was wandering about the city after the lights returned. Great fronts of buildings coloured pale blue. Do you really mean? Yes. How can I explain it to you? Of course, the blue uniform struck you. Nearly a third of our people wear it. More assume it now every day. This Labour Department has grown imperceptibly. What is this Labour Department? Asked Graham. In the old times, how did you manage with starving people? There was the workhouse, which the parishes maintained. Workhouse, yes. There was something. In our history lessons, I remember now, the Labour Department ousted the workhouse. It grew, partly, out of something, you perhaps may remember it, an emotional religious organisation called the Salvation Army, that became a business company. In the first place, it was almost a charity, to save people from workhouse rigours. There had been a great agitation against the workhouse. Now I come to think of it, it was one of the earliest properties your trustees acquired. They bought the Salvation Army and reconstructed it as this. The idea in the first place was to organise the labour of starving homeless people. Yes. Nowadays there are no workhouses, no refugees and charities. Nothing but that department. Its offices are everywhere. That blue is its colour. And any man, woman or child who comes to be hungry and weary, and with neither home nor friend nor resort, must go to the department in the end, or seek some way of death. The euthanasia is beyond their means. For the poor there is no easy death. And at any hour in the day or night there is food, shelter, and a blue uniform for all comers. That is the first condition of the department's incorporation. And in return for a day's shelter, the department extracts a day's work, and then returns the visitor's proper clothing and sends him or her out again. Yes. Perhaps that does not seem so terrible to you. In your time men starved in your streets. That was bad. But they died. Men. These people in blue. The proverb runs, blue canvas once and ever. The department trades in their labour, and it has taken care to assure itself of the supply. People come to it starving and helpless. They eat and sleep for a night and day. They work for a day, and at the end of the day they go out again. If they have worked well, they have a penny or so, enough for a theatre or a cheap dancing place, or a kinematograph story, or a dinner or a bet. They wander about after that is spent. Begging is prevented by the police of the ways. Besides, no one gives. They come back again the next day, or the day after, brought back by the same incapacity that brought them first. At last their proper clothing wears out, or their rags get so shabby that they are ashamed. Then they must work for months to get fresh. If they want fresh, a great number of children are born under the department's care. The mother owes them a month thereafter. The children they cherish and educate until they are 14, and they pay 2 years' service. You may be sure these children are educated for the blue canvas, and so it is the department works. And none are destitute in the city. None. They are either in blue canvas or in prison. We have abolished destitution. It is engraved upon the department's checks. If they will not work, most people will work at that pitch, and the department has powers. There are stages of unpleasantness in the work, stoppage of food, and a man or woman who has refused to work once is known by a thumb marking system in the department's offices all over the world. Besides, who can leave the city poor? To go to Paris costs 2 lions, and for insubordination there are the prisons, dark and miserable, out of sight below. There are prisons now for many things, and a third of the people wear this blue canvas. And with that, we come to the end of the episode. So, I will say thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.